Okay, so let's be real for a sec. Anyone else feeling kind of like AI chatbot overload?
Yeah, it's a lot to keep up with, that's for sure.
I mean, ChatGPT, cool, we get it. But every day, there's like 5 new ones popping up. So today, we're doing a deep dive, comparing the top AI chatbots, using this awesome comparison sheet you sent us.
Sounds like a plan.
It is. You sent over this PDF with a side-by-side breakdown of all these chatbots. Super helpful, by the way. So we've got the big names, obviously ChatGPT, everyone knows that one, right?
Yep.
It's made by OpenAI.
Right.
And then we've got Claude from Anthropic. It's like the cautious one of the bunch.
I think the way to put it.
And then, Google's Bard. But we're looking at Gemini specifically. That's the one tied into all things Google.
Right.
And last but not least, there's Perplexity, the fact-checking fanatic.
Always gotta have those sources.
Exactly. Now, what's interesting is they all have free versions.
Yeah. Think of it like a test drive. You can try it out before committing to a paid plan with all the bells and whistles.
Okay, so I get that. But wouldn't sticking with the free version mean missing out? Like, what are
Yeah.
we sacrificing by not going pro?
That's a smart question. One of the biggest differences you'll notice is the context window. Basically, it's how much information the chatbot can remember from your past interactions.
Oh, so like it remembers our conversation from 5 minutes ago.
Kinda, but on a much larger scale. We're talking thousands of words, even entire documents.
Whoa, okay.
For instance, Claude can handle a whopping 200,000 tokens. But get this, Gemini Advanced has a capacity of 1 million tokens.
Wait, 1 million? What does that even look like in real life? Like I can just dump my whole research paper on it.
Pretty much. It's like having a superpower research assistant who never forgets a single detail.
That's wild. Okay, so I'm definitely intrigued. Let's dive into the specifics of each one, starting with ChatGPT. What are its strengths? What are its weaknesses?
Well, ChatGPT's biggest strength is its popularity. A huge user base means tons of GPTs, which are basically customized versions fine-tuned for specific tasks. And it plays well with other platforms too, integrates really nicely.
Yeah, I've seen people use it for like everything, from writing Instagram captions to building websites.
Exactly. But it does have a tendency to hallucinate sometimes, meaning it might give you information that's totally made up but presented as fact.
So like that friend who tells amazing stories, but you're never sure if they actually happened.
Uh-huh. Yeah, pretty much. And compared to some of the others, its context window is smaller. So it might forget earlier parts of your conversation more quickly, especially if you're working on something complex.
Gotcha. So moving on to Claude then, what makes it stand out from the crowd?
Well, Claude was designed with caution in mind. It's less likely to give you, harmful or biased content. And its contextual understanding is seriously impressive. Like, it can actually follow a conversation really well.
And didn't your comparison sheet say it can create different content formats? Like poems, even scripts?
It can. It's pretty unique in that way. Really shows its flexibility and creative potential.
Okay, cool. So now on to Gemini. Big Google connection there. What kind of advantages does that give us?
Well, the seamless integration with Google Workspace is huge. I mean, if you're already living in that ecosystem, Gemini just makes sense.
And being plugged into Google Search probably makes it a beast for research. Always having the most up-to-date info.
It's like having the entire internet at your fingertips ready to help you research anything.
Amazing. Okay, last but definitely not least, Perplexity. All about citing its sources right.
That's its claim to fame, definitely. It's all about transparency and accuracy, which makes it perfect for research and fact-checking. You know the information's coming from reliable sources.
Well, I mean, it sounds like a research superstar. But what about other tasks, like creative writing or data analysis?
Well, that's where it falls a little short. It's super focused on providing accurate information, but doesn't have the same capabilities for things like data analysis or really creative writing.
Interesting. So it seems like each of these chatbots has its own strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
How do we even know which one is right for us? I mean, there's so much to consider.
Yeah, it can definitely feel overwhelming. I think the key is to start with your needs. What are you hoping to achieve with a chatbot? Are you looking for creative writing help, factual research, data analysis, something else entirely?
So each one has its sweet spot then.
Exactly. And even within one chatbot, different versions or models might be better suited for certain tasks. It really depends on what you're trying to do.
That's a great point. So those free versions we talked about earlier are sounding even more essential now. We can try them out and see what works best for us.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of having so many options available. Experiment, play around, and see what clicks.
Okay, so we've covered like The basics, strengths, weaknesses, all that. But I'm really curious about how these chatbots would actually work, in real life.
Yeah, good point. Let's get specific. Imagine you're a digital marketer, right? You've got this mountain of data from a recent campaign, just tons of it,
Ugh, yeah, been there.
and you need to analyze it all. So which chatbot are you turning to?
Okay, let me think. Based on what we just talked about, Perplexity is probably out, since it's more about research and less about, crunching numbers.
Right. ChatGPT could be a good option here with its data handling capabilities, and it can connect with tools like Google Sheets. But remember that whole hallucination thing?
Oh, yeah. So maybe double check those results a few times.
Definitely. Don't just blindly trust it. What about Gemini, though? I mean, with that Google search connection, doesn't that make it good for data analysis too?
Yeah, that's true. And it can access all those Google analysis tools. Plus, it has the most up-to-date information.
It's like having the whole internet as your own personal data analyst. Okay, let's switch gears completely. Say you're a screenwriter. You're totally stuck, hit a wall.
Classic writer's block.
Exactly. You need fresh ideas, dialogue that feels, real. Which chatbot would you go to for help?
Ooh, good question. I'm thinking ChatGPT or Claude, for sure. They're both good at the whole creative writing thing. And being able to generate different types of content could really help.
Yeah, that flexibility is key when you're feeling stuck.
I'm kind of fascinated by Claude's script writing ability. That's so cool.
And with ChatGPT, you never know what GPT you might find that's perfect for screenwriters. Worth checking out for sure. Earlier we mentioned Claude working with Microsoft 365. Can you give me like a real-world example of how that would work?
Yeah, paint me a picture.
Okay, so imagine you're working on a proposal, you're in Microsoft Word, and you need to summarize this super dense research paper. Like it's pages and pages long.
Ugh, the worst.
But with Claude, you can use its Copilot feature to pull out the key points from the paper. Right there in your document. No switching back and forth.
It's like having a research assistant who's like an instant summarizing machine.
Exactly. That level of integration is a game changer for productivity. Okay, how about something everyone can relate to? It's just everyday productivity. Which chatbot would be the best for like managing tasks, setting reminders, keeping us organized?
I feel like Gemini would be great for that, with its connection to Google Calendar and all the scheduling tools.
Makes sense. And, I've seen people do some pretty cool things with ChatGPT to automate those little tasks we all hate, like sending emails, scheduling social media posts, that kind of stuff.
It's all about finding ways to fit these tools into our existing workflow, make our lives a little easier.
For sure. Don't be afraid to experiment and see what works for you.
Okay, so all this talk about different uses is making me think, do you think, realistically, we'll all end up using multiple chatbots, like for different tasks? Sort of like a toolbox of AI assistants.
I think that's very possible. It's like we use different apps for different things on our phones, right? We might end up using different chatbots depending on the task and what they're good at.
Right. It's not about finding the best chatbot, but the best one for the job. Makes sense. Now, before we move on, remember how we talked about how quickly this landscape is changing? What advice would you give to someone who's just, totally overwhelmed by it all?
Honestly, the most important thing is to stay curious. Don't be afraid to, jump in and experiment. Those free versions are a great way to try things out without any pressure.
And it's not about finding that perfect chatbot either. It's about discovering the ones that work best for you, for your specific goals and needs.
Exactly. Embrace the whole learning process and enjoy exploring all these cool new tools.
Love that. Okay, so are you ready to leave our listener with a final thought-provoking question to ponder? Hit me with it.
Okay, listener, here's something to think about. Now that you know a bit more about these AI chatbots, their good and bad points and all that, how do you see them fitting into your own life? Whether it's work or even just personal stuff. What possibilities are you most excited about?
That's a great question. It really makes you realize that, AI chatbots aren't some futuristic fantasy anymore. They're tools we can use, like right now, to be more creative, get more done, understand things better.
It really is an exciting time. It feels like we're at the beginning of something huge.
Yeah, definitely. But as with any new tech, there will be challenges and things we need to be careful about as we move forward.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about the technology itself. It's how we use it, right?
Yeah.
And that brings us back to you, dear listener. You have the power to shape the future of AI just by making smart decisions about how you interact with these tools.
So think critically. Don't be afraid to ask questions and see what you can achieve.
And remember, this world of AI chatbots, it's constantly changing. What's like the hot new thing today could be old news tomorrow.
Exactly. Which means we need to keep learning, stay curious, and never stop experimenting.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, I think we've done a pretty good job of diving deep into this world of AI chatbots. Hopefully you've learned a bit about, who the big players are, what they're good at, where they struggle, and what incredible potential they have.
Until next time.
Happy exploring.